I got back from church and been in a bit, so I was serving today. I decided that today would be the day of my imminent return. You know, brothers and sisters, I really don't know why I bother sometimes. Lately, it's more times than not. Perhaps God is trying to tell me something there. Maybe it's maybe it's on me for expecting something different. Right? Those people there, I bear none of them any ill will. Honestly, deep down, I really don't. But they're the same. They're the same as everywhere else, and they're the same as everyone else. I'm not claiming that's I'm better. I'm claiming that I am different. I'm going to stand on that. I'm claiming that I know who I am, and I refuse to compromise for anything, anyone, or any institution. Okay, I believe that that's straight up dogmatic. Dogmatic. I don't care what religion it is. I don't care what branch of religion it is. That's dogma. At the end of the day, simple as that. They we were going through the worship music, and they're really bearing their heart there, and the messages, and the prayers. And let me tell y'all something. I've been going to this church for like 2 years, but today really hit me. Maybe it's because it was after the absence. I've been gone for like close to like 2 months. Said I'd take some time away, time for myself. I got burned out, man. You give an inch, they take a mile. They just again and again and again. It's like these people don't get it. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't get it. And obviously, I don't care whether they get it or not. I got burned out, so I just decided to leave. And I would do that. I don't regret that. And I was really involved too. I was like the big man on campus, so to speak. Of course, the same issues everywhere. The same with friends, or the same like games, women, or whatever. I wasn't even surprised. But today, really, like the veil was lifted. I felt absolutely nothing from the beginning to the end of that service. I felt absolutely nothing from the time I walked into that building to the time I walked out. Nothing. Nothing. The irony is I'd say my relationship with God is fairly tight. I try to keep my eyes toward the Most High. That's really the only place where fulfillment's going to be anyway. So I can actually know who I am. So I don't need other things outside of me to validate me. So I don't have to waste my time and energy trying to pretend to be somebody I'm not. So I can be fulfilled. Fulfillment doesn't exist apart from right now. And God gives you that fulfillment. I would argue a priority. I know this ain't like a philosophy class, but I would argue that that's given prior to experience. And I think it's really on us to just discover it. That's why it was so ironic. I went in that church today. Church that I've been going for 2 years, and I felt absolutely nothing. I wasn't sad. I was just kind of like I didn't feel anything. It was just blank. It was just flatline. I mean, usually the girls would arouse something in me. I mean, there's a lot of girls there, a lot of pretty girls, but even then, man, nothing. Just didn't feel like playing today. I guess I did what I was required to do, but I didn't do it with any love. What's what's the optimal play here? From the outside looking in, it'd be like, what do these people want? Do they want me to do what's required of me, but do it with no love? Or would they rather me just, come and go as I please, but occasionally sprinkle some affection in there? Because I can't pretend to care about things I genuinely don't care about. I can't do it. I've tried. I cannot do it. I certainly cannot sustain it. Certainly, it's not like I owe them anything. They don't owe me anything either. Maybe it's the end of an era or something. End of a chapter. I'm open to possibilities. But I'm not going to continue to play in an environment that I don't believe I belong in. They were glad to see me too. They really were. They were actually happy to see me. That's supposed to make me feel anything? It did not. A fair amount of friends down there. I don't care. I can't even act at this point, man. Drop some coffee. That's okay. I'll change out of the polo anyway, you know. No point wearing it anymore. I'm just chilling here for the rest of the day. In the liminal spaces where it's quiet. So I can have my solitude. My fortress of solitude. I love solitude too. I really do. I truly love it. It's a blessing. It's addicting as well. That quote is true. Solitude is very addicting. And even there, it used to get to me, I think, because I was looking, from the outside. Now I look from the inside, I'm like, oh, it has no power over me. That's why I always like Jesus' responses, man. He always knew exactly what to say. And with Pontius Pilate, that was the perfect one. Pilate was like, listen, these people want to crucify you, right? Like, they want to kill you. They want blood, bro. They let a murderer go so that they could kill you. That's how much they want you dead. I'm the governor here. Okay, I have authority. I can save you. But you ain't talking to me now. You give me the silent treatment. Don't you have anything to say for yourself? Anything at all? I'm trying to help you, man. I can just imagine just Jesus looking at him matter of factly, spitting facts as he always did. You have no power over me. This province has no power over me. These people have no power over me. Your empire has no power over me. Never did. Never will. See, this outside world and all this keeping up with the Joneses, all this materialism, all this playing pretend, it has no power over you unless you let it. I could get upset. I could really get upset. Look at it from a perspective of lack. Why don't I fit in there? Why do I feel like I don't fit in? Why can't I have what they have? As if they have something that I'm not privy to. Right? You see how you're already operating off an inferior base? You're operating off of sand. You're just gonna sink the whole time. If you say, you know what, it ain't even about that. It's about being true to who I am and being in an environment where I believe I belong. And not being fake. And having to play pretend and having to put on a show to placate people that don't even know me. And that will never know me, most likely. I'll never know them either. It's not about that. It's not about keeping up with the Joneses. Why would I want to do that? That sounds like a miserable way to live your life. Straight up. Miserable. That is that's not something I was put on this earth to do. I was put on this earth to create, to have the art that is inside of me and express that. To pursue ideas. To allow my creativity to run free. To make actually meaningful connections. Not superficial ones. Meaningful connections. To have meaningful relationships. Not superficial ones. That's values. Values that I know that I have. Values that I can't just forget to fit in. That's some high school BS, man. It was BS in high school, it's BS now. The only difference is you have the inner solidity to not be shaken by that. To look at it as it's happening in front of you, as it is unfolding in front of your face, and be unfazed by what is occurring. Because you know the truth for you. You know your truth. Who you actually are. Ain't nobody gonna tell you any different. Doesn't matter. It's nonsensical. It's tautological. There's no rhyme or reason to that. Right? So I was grateful for that actually, because before that really would have gotten to me, because I was still again living in the mirror. Now I realize God has done this for a reason, and the self growth that I have had has been profoundly painful, but it has been worth its weight in gold. That that I genuinely and firmly believe, worth its weight in absolute gold. Literally, metaphorically, allegorically, alchemically, however way you want to remember. You know? Make it your own, as I always encourage. But don't think for a second sacrificing your own individuality. Don't think for a second that is worth it. It sure as hell isn't. Never has been, never will be. It's a, it's a tragic fate in the true sense of the word. And I don't advocate for that. I don't encourage that. I encourage the exact opposite of that. Almost to a radical level. Not completely radical, but like almost a little radical. Pursue and keep in sight your own individuality and your own understanding of yourself, even if it costs you some superficial connections or superficial status in a fabricated environment. Really, they're not. You know, there's no different. They're not any different. They're the same. They act the same as people everywhere else. They just they might dress it up differently, pun intended, but doesn't change the fact of the matter. And I feel some people may confuse this with pride. I'm sure that would be an easy go-to to throw out the baby with the bathwater and not take accountability for your own inner life. But it's not pride at all. It's it's painful truth because you have to acknowledge that you may not fit in there, and that hurts initially. That hurts, right? You're excluded from the group. Okay, from a survivor perspective, that's not a good move. But you have to understand that if you're set apart, if you're different, then it's because you are different to understand who it is that you actually are. You don't have to be them. You don't need to be them. You never needed to. You have to be you, though. That's the only one you got. You got you in here. You're with yourself 24/7. You better get comfy. You better be chilling in the room of your mind like I'm chilling right now. Almost like a palace, like Superman's Fortress of Solitude or Batman's Batcave. Okay? The Incredible Hulk's lab. The the rooftops and the high places for Peter Parker when he was Spider-Man, etc., etc. I could go on because you have to get used to that. You have to be willing to go through that wilderness, and God will give you manna, or I think is it mana? Mana. I'm gonna say mana. Mana. Man, this is funny. I always get. I think it's up to interpretation. Mana, mana, mana. We'll give you mana. We'll give you mana. Curious. Okay. Give you mana. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me there for that for that brief interruption. I'm gonna go with mana. God will give you mana. Okay, to sustain you in the wilderness. But you have to be willing to undergo the wilderness. And once you're willing to do that, God will basically say like, okay, take him out, or okay, take her out, for a little bit, so they can really understand who it is that you are. And then you'll see that when you come back, everything that you were chasing, everything that you were seeking, is, to be blunt, utterly meaningless. and holds no intrinsic value in itself. Completely, I felt nothing when I was in there because there was nothing to feel. There wasn't anything to feel. Not for me anyway. And I wouldn't say I was rude. Some people may associate it as being cold or aloof, detached, whatever. I don't really worry about all that. Doesn't There's no point living your life like that. You know? But I just couldn't even pretend to really want to be there. And I wasn't upset by that. I felt like it was kind of a natural and like a natural revelation of my current self development. And I say that in a, again, really an alchemical and psychoanalytic sense, not in whatever the industry has become now. I don't know what it's become. I don't really want any part of it, so I don't say it in that sense. In some ways, I'm grateful as well. It was illuminating, I guess. Very, it's a hive mind, as is every group. Really, I'm not picking on the church. Certainly not picking on this church. They were there for me when I needed them, I suppose. But I don't believe they ever really knew me, and in part that was because I didn't know myself. Now I have a better understanding of myself, and they still don't know me. But that's okay. You know, that's okay. I've come so far that I cannot diminish my own awareness of the environment that I'm in and the person that I'm becoming. And in many ways, the person I already have become. I cannot do that for anyone or anything, and I won't. And I won't. If that means I have to walk away, then so be it. I can't go back now with how far I've come. I can't do it. God won't let me do it. Some of my less than stellar moments I've tried because I thought I was missing out. FOMO, right? You're not really missing out on anything except for short-term gratification and temporary pleasure. At the same time, there's no reason to forsake your own needs and your own desires at the behest of some societal authority. I feel very diplomatic right now. I feel like I'm choosing my words. I always do that when I'm talking to people because I don't. I'm a fairly private person, and a lot of these people these days. I mean, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm sure they have their own thoughts and comments about me. I think they're nosy. They always want to know somebody's business. You know what I mean? They always want to gossip. I don't do that. I don't like gossip. Didn't like it in high school. Didn't like it in middle school. Don't like it now. So I usually kind of just cut that off before it even starts. And you'll find that when you do that, people don't really want to talk to you, which is actually a blessing because those people you weren't gonna have good conversations with them anyway. Whereas people you would have had cool conversations with, like genuine one-on-one, like dang that's a cool dude or dang like that's a cool chick, that tends to happen. I would say more organically. They're not trying to like interrogate you, which is a bit of a turnoff, in my opinion. That's a definite turnoff. Ah, this actually made me feel better. I wasn't sad, but I guess I was kind of still living in the mirror a little bit, still reminiscing on Maybe I could fit in there, or maybe I could do something that would allow me to be in the group. I think the truth is I really was never in the group, and I kind of compensated for that with a lot of tasks. I wanted to be very active, be very involved, but they never knew me, and I never wanted them to. I never wanted them to know me. So I'm not gonna blame them for that. I'm not gonna blame them for anything. They're just doing what they got to do, and I'm just doing what I got to do. But I'm not gonna apologize for it either, and I don't regret it. That it is the way it is. Nonetheless, I guess if this could be said to have had a theme, no matter how painful it can be, no matter how painful it is, never sacrifice your own individuality to fit into some clique or some group, some social club. You may think it's worth it in the short term, but it will cost you severe pain and psychological anguish in the long run. It's much safer, much better, and much healthier to understand where you actually stand in that setting and in that environment and with those people and move accordingly to your own spirit than to do anything that would suggest otherwise. Whether that does or does not cost you superficial relationships, quite frankly, is irrelevant. We've come too far, brothers and sisters, to worry about superficiality and to be caught up in the machinations of a society that refuses to do everything but look at itself in the mirror. That is something that all of us can do and should do and are capable of doing. When we do that, we will grow from it in a genuinely fulfilling way. The kind of fulfillment that is already available to us right now, a priority. God bless each and every one of you. Keep the faith for the Most High and for yourselves. Remember stillness and the blessing that is solitude. And as always, among all of these, always remember, truly, fundamentally remember who it is that you are. And always move according to it. God bless.